This exceptionally grimy film is The Driller Killer, the first or maybe second feature film directed by Abel Ferrara, depending if you count his dalliance with adult entertainment a real movie.
They really sound good on your album.
Album? These guys have an album? Are you kidding? Heard this on a record and quit painting in protest.
Shot on and off over the course of 1978 and 79, The Driller Killer is about an artist, Reno, living in a downtown New York loft apartment with his girlfriend Carol and her girlfriend Pamela. The pressures of modern life, along with a looming deadline, causes Reno to do a little bit of murdering on the side. This film was banned in the UK when the 1984 Video Recording Act came into effect. It was put onto what was known as the Video Sorry about the noise. I've got new neighbours, and I'm going to have to fix it in post. So forgive me if the sound is a little funny on this. If I can't fix it in the edit, then I'm leaving this fucking shit in, so everyone knows what arseholes I live next door to.
The early 1980s marked a revolution in video technology. For the first time, courtesy of the VCR, people had the means to watch films in the comfort of their own homes, if they had 500 quid and a Pickford's van to get it home. But surprise, surprise, it wasn't Panorama they were watching. Almost immediately, unregulated and uncensored films became available to hire, uncut, from your local video shop. Gory, graphic and gratuitous, these films were flying off the shelves and leaving viewers so traumatised they could barely reach for the eject button. Fake blood, vacant stares and, let's be honest, some pretty shoddy acting became the hallmarks of what the tabloids quickly dubbed the video nasty.
The video nasties were a list of 72 motion pictures deemed so offensive by the Conservative government of the time that they were not to be seen by anybody ever, thus creating a list of must-see films for any horror fan. Driller Killer was on that list.
You talk to LA for 2 hours and 10 minutes, man? What are you, going out of your mind? What are you, crazy? Holy Christ, Philadelphia?
Her sister?
Miami?
That's mine.
Trenton, New Jersey? Queens, man? Wait, Queens the local corps.
Payment of the full amount for telephone service is required by this date to avoid interruption of your outgoing service, and 5 days later, termination of your incoming service. That's tomorrow. They're going to come and turn it off tomorrow.
Turn it off, huh?
The thing is, this list was made by people who hadn't even seen most of the films they were banning. The Driller Killer was judged by its rather salacious VHS cover. But if one watches the actual movie, then it's very obvious that this film doesn't belong beside the likes of Evil Dead or I Spit on Your Grave.
Carol! Carol, wait a minute! Carol, you quit right here, man! Don't you touch me! Where did you go? I'm leaving! You leave!
It's largely a character study about a man's descent into despair. Most of the murders are filmed at a distance or in the shadows, and only one happens in gory close-up, the one which made itself onto the box art. The lead role was taken by... The lead role was taken by Abel Ferrara himself, using his adult entertainment pseudonym Jimmy Laine, but directing under his own given name, Abel Ferrara.
You know, I was looking at an actor, but I knew we were going to make this film. I didn't know how long it was. You know, it could have took 10 years to make it. I remember I asked Johansson to do it, David Johansson. of the Dolls, you know. Our composer was in his band, was Buster. But that was later on. You know, I mean, we're going to start shooting one weekend. We're going to start shooting. How many weekends you can take to make, you know? And we didn't even know what the fuck we were doing. So it's not like now we're shooting these features in 15, 18 days. I mean, Miss 45, that film, those films took forever. We didn't know what the fuck was, you know. We had to learn how to do it. You know, now we got it down. But so I didn't know how long the fucking thing was going to take, you know. So I'm thinking, well, am I going to get an actor that's going to be tell some guy what he's doing for the next 3 years? You know what I mean? It just wasn't practical. We're not paying anybody. It was just, and if I had the guy, you know, if I had the relationship that I have now with some of these guys, especially say with Willem, you know, then it would have been, and then he would have played it. You dig? But I didn't have that then.
Come on, you've been waiting to say it. Say it! Say it! Say it how you've been paying the bills, how we've been spending your money, how you picked up the rent last month. Huh? What do you want me to do? Get on my knees? You want me to kiss your feet? But forget it, man, because this place has been here long before you got here, and it's going to be here long after you leave, all right? So don't tell me about money, and don't tell me about painting, and don't tell me when this thing is going to get finished, all right? Because I'll tell you when it's going to get finished. In fact, you'll be the first to know. I'll come and tell you, man. I'll come up to you wherever you are, even if you're sleeping, man. I'll sneak up to you, man. I'll whisper right in your ear, man. I'll say, it's fun!
I'm not sure if that counts as acting, as Abel Ferrara seems to be playing himself. But that is the best he had available to him at the time, so he went with that. The only member of the cast I think gives a genuinely good performance is Carolyn Marz, who plays Carol. But sadly, after this film, she would never act again. The most veteran member of the cast appears in this opening scene. According to the IMDb, which can be fallible, this old man character was the last screen acting role for James O'Hara, a jobbing actor with at least 50 credits to his name, including the Batman TV show, My Fair Lady and Perry Mason. Nice to see his career went out on a high, playing a mute character in a B-movie in a scene which has little to do with the rest of the film. According to some film historians, who might know better than me, this is supposed to be Reno's father. That might very well be the case, but I see little evidence pointing towards it in the film. This scene also feels like it's had its motivation removed somewhere in the production. There's no explanation to why Reno was on the rooftop in the first place. On the Arrow Films Blu-ray release of this movie, they put a pre-release edit, which is about 4 minutes longer, and in my mind, better than this version. That cut has a scene between Carol and Reno on the rooftop.
Reno! Reno! No! How'd it go today? Okay, I'll see you later, baby.
While that short scene doesn't express anything verbally, it does show that Carol knows where to find Reno, so he must come up here regularly. And because he's had a bad day, it must be in order to chill out. This movie was shot at 16mm by Ken Kelch. This movie was shot on 16mm by Ken Kelch, who photographed a lot of Ferrara's movies. He gives the film a gritty look in which New York City feels like it's covered with a thick layer of filth. Not always perfectly exposed and sometimes not even in focus. What the film lacks in professional sheen, it makes up for in grungy atmosphere.
I mean, how much do the circumstances of when you're shooting on set play a part in your work? How much?
100%. 100%. 100%. We come in. We come with our. Obviously that's a very specifically. You're doing a genre piece. There's very specific things. It's a very. There's an arc. There's a character arc. There's a very definitive things that you're going out to achieve. Man, you got to let the world help you with the film. Especially you're in New York in 1990s. That's what I'm saying. These aren't extras, man. You're shooting. In the front is your movie. Behind it, you're shooting. It's a sociological study. And like I was saying, all these films you see from the 80s in New York, they're extras and they shut off the streets and all that bullshit. You don't get anything out of those films. It's the low budget films. It's the driller kills, but not just mine, a lot of them, where you're actually seeing the fucking world. Not some fucking the same 50 people walking up back and forth. You know what I mean? You dig what I mean? In rented outfits, on streets that are shut off. You're watching the real world back there. And we could have done a lot better. We could have done a lot better. We could have shot a lot wider and probably got a lot more of it. But it is what it is. But at least we got enough, in the films that we did that you could see, especially that film. That's 1994, man. The sneakers, the fucking looks, the computers, the fucking way people walk, the attitude, the cars, the stretches, it's in New York. Yeah, even Julian's house before he tore all that shit down, It's a, like I say, man, students with actual books.
Finding flaws in this film is not a difficult task, but I do like it. Or rather, I like Abel Ferrara. He has such an unflinching, raw approach to filmmaking, and I find that quite electric.
In this movie, I thought I was going to end up liking. I normally like weird horror movies like this. I didn't like this one. It just didn't appeal to me, and I didn't find it very interesting. The Driller Killer. I don't know what it was about. I don't know if I watched it on a day when I was in a bad mood, or just wasn't in the mood for a movie like that. That one I just didn't care for.
These here are all of the Abel Ferrara films I have in my collection. They're not all the ones that I have seen, but they're all the ones that I currently own. That's the Arrow release of Driller Killer, which is very good. It's got the brand new print where you can actually see what's going on in it. I do recommend it highly. Angel of Vengeance, which is often referred to as Ms. 45. It was released as Angel of Vengeance in the UK. This is actually a Spanish release because I can't find it released in any other country. It was, I think, the first Abel Ferrara film that I saw and probably still my favourite. King of New York, Christopher Walken at his finest, and for my money, a better gangster film than Goodfellas. The Addiction, which is a vampire film where their lust for blood is treated like a drug addiction. A very clever take, shot in gorgeous black and white, again by Ken Kelch. We've got Welcome to New York, which is Gérard Depardieu. This was a later Abel Ferrara film. Again, I mean, like's the right word. I watched this film with keen interest, and then Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant, not to be confused with Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant. This is the better one of the two, although Werner Herzog's one's very good as well. This is unflinching. It's probably Abel Ferrara at his rawest and... Due to someone not keeping up with the paperwork, this film has now lapsed into the public domain, so it can be viewed for free on a number of platforms. I've left a link in the description to archive.org where I sourced the version I edited for this video, but if you have the cash, I recommend getting the Arrow video release.
Finished. Carol, baby, it's all done. Just finished. Just finished it, sweetie. Just finished it.
that was Abel Ferrara's Driller Killer. Not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but in its own way, quite inspirational. I'm Scott Kingsnorth, and I'm making a movie.